I can't believe we're on June 5 already. Seems to have gone really fast, doesn't it? So this then is what we'll do then is recap on um activities 13 to 15. And this one is the applying behavioral science principles. Quite a lot of people like this one. This session is going to focus on how to use behavioral science to create meaningful, people-centered health and well-being strategies. And then hopefully you should learn to build rapport and trust through active listening, understanding behavior changes, and apply the tools such as SMART goals and motivational interviewing to support these changes. So we'll start with activity 13, which was building rapport and active listening. And this is just going to focus on how to build rapport and trust within individuals, and then using active listening to understand their needs. Did I send you out the breakout room handout? No, I knew there was something. Let me just send it out to you. Duty 5 now, isn't it? Our workshops in Duty 5. There you are. You should have just got that now. So you don't quite need it yet, but we'll need it in a couple of slides. So let's move on. So the aims and the objectives then for activity 13 are learning techniques to build rapport and create trust, develop active listening skills and to understand needs and challenges, and use questioning techniques to uncover barriers to behaviour changes. So hopefully then these objectives will help you strengthen communication and build better connections. So let's have a little look at the first activity. So this is building rapport techniques introduced. So we look at using empathy and non-verbal communications to show understanding, match tone and body language to establish connection, and show genuine interest by paraphrasing and summarising responses. So using simple wording and body language, I suppose. So what do you think the techniques that you use in your own individual roles then? Should we start with you, Angela?
Hello, really sorry, I can't see the presentation.
Oh, can't you?
No.
Hang on a minute. Let me stop sharing and try it again. What can you see?
It just says can't display content.
Oh, hang on a minute then. How's this one?
Have a look. Yeah, that's it. I'm on.
You're on, yeah? So what techniques do you think you use then when you build relationships within your role?
Obviously, to start doing anything, you need a bit active listening. I always try and listen to other people, but even when I'm not doing anything sort of like well-being champion related, even if it's just a general working relationship, it's general chatting, and like it says on there, finding common experiences and things like that. You're always going to find you can speak a little bit better to somebody if you think that they've had things happen to them that are, that are the same. So you're always going to find it a little bit easier to speak to people and find it easier to make a bit more of a relationship with them. Yeah. But equally the same when I am doing any of the wellbeing champion stuff and I am listening to them, it's sometimes when you can see that they're not wanting to open up quite as much as maybe they need to, you know, you just start with a general chat of, have you got kids? Have you, have you done this? Just general chatting, and it kind of, if you put them at ease a little bit, I think, and then that makes them easier to listen, and easier to speak to you.
What about you, Victoria?
Well, people come to us because they want support, so that kind of gets over that barrier of like working around that. We do a lot of mainly listening, without interjecting with any of our own personal views or personal experiences, because it's not about us.
Yeah.
It's about them. It's nice to build up empathy, which we do later on in a conversation. But at first, it kind of, the emphasis is all on the person needing support and letting them get it out. And also we, letting people know that it's non-judgmental and confidential as well,
Do
so
you
they feel comfortable.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever have anyone know that feels forced to come to you? Like
No.
maybe from you wouldn't.
No,
you
because
wouldn't do that.
we always make sure that the consent's been had.
Yeah.
So we won't work with anyone unless they have personally given their consent.
Mm.
And if they don't want us, they're absolutely fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about you, James?
I guess for me, that it's kind of already been said as well. It's kind of listening to understand rather than listening to respond.
Yeah.
So very quickly, you can kind of get into the scenario of trying to fix somebody's situation for them, even though you know that might work for you. I think by my very nature, I'm a bit of a problem solver, and I want to kind of get people to where they want to get to as quickly as possible. But sometimes I have to appreciate that to do that, there might be a lot of kind of barriers in the way for them to get there, and it might take them a little bit of time, even though eventually they might come around to the solution that I might have in my head. So it's really listening to people and what they're saying, and sometimes trying to unpick what they're saying, because what they might be saying might be hiding something else. So it's picking up on the cues and some of the things sometimes they don't say as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to the next one. So this one is just about active listening skills then. So we're reflecting on paraphrasing, so what the individual shares to confirm understanding, summarizing, so maybe repeating back key points to show that you've been listening, and then clarifying. So I was going to say that in the last slide. So maybe open-ended questions to gather more details if you need to. So how can we actively listen to uncover any barriers that you might face then, and maybe change, I don't know, behavior change, or show that you've got an understanding, do you think? Anyone got anything?
We summarize and try and find out what people's end goals are.
Yeah.
And then we normally, I mean, the way we do it, well, the way I personally do it is build up a little action plan. But yeah, when we start talking to somebody, we make notes on what their current situation is. And then we also make notes on like what we need to make better, what needs fixing.
Yeah. And then would that go into the folder that they've got, so that you've got that if you needed to go back to
we've got
it?
like something like that. Don't know if you can
Yeah.
see. It's like you can't see it from there, but we've got like a step-by-step process that we do. So and then we've got we take general notes as well. So we've got a big page for notes.
Yeah.
About people's situation, and then we type it all up afterwards. But really, I mean, the two important things that we take is what's happening now, what are the issues, and what do we want to, where do we want to be?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, and it's just to show that the person that you're dealing with, you have got an interest in what they're feeling or what they want or what they need.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it builds trust, ensures mutual understanding. Anything else you think that it builds or helps with?
I think you've got to have open dialogue as well. Don't just say you'll do all these things. You've got to maintain the relationship really to build
Yeah.
the trust. It's not always going to be done on meeting number one. They need to see something from you, some evidence that you've actually listened.
Yeah, definitely. So we're gonna have a
It's
little
about
look.
being,
Oh, sorry, go on.
I think it's about being authentic as well. And if you are going to pick it up at that point, if you are going to say you're going to do something, follow through with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Rather than tell them maybe what they want to hear, or sometimes in some cases, kind of what they've been told. If it's incorrect, it's being able to correct it, but provide some evidence for it as well.
Yeah, definitely. So what we'll do now then is if you can open up that breakout room handout that I give you, and then look at the first one. So it should have come through. I don't know if I pop it in the chat, whether you can open it. This is only 3 of you. We'll just stay here. We won't bother going in the breakout room. You just want that first breakout room scenario.
I haven't got the activities. I've just got the PowerPoint been sent to me.
So on the other one. There we are. I don't know why I sent that one. Should come through now. So basically activity details then. In this activity, you're going to practice building rapport and active listening skills to create trust and gain deeper insights into individuals' needs. So they're foundational for supporting the behavior changes. So you're meeting with a client who's hesitant to open up about the challenges. Your task is to use rapport building techniques and actively listen to create a safe and supportive environment for them to share. So establish rapport by showing empathy, respect, and genuine interest. Use active listening techniques. So it's just it's talking a bit about what we have done, but making some little notes about how you can do it. So, for example, if a client is hesitant to share, you might say, I can see this is a sensitive topic for you. Take your time, I'm here to listen. So it's just sort of creating some scenarios that you could maybe deal with that might be different to what you deal with at the moment. So if they come through,
Yeah, mine's come through now.
yeah, okay. I'll just give you a couple of minutes to read it. And just give you say 10 minutes to have a discussion about it. Have you all had it now? Yeah. Cool. So I'll just give you 10 minutes. You can have a little chat about it.
I don't really know what to say, to be honest, for this one.
So just think about if you did have someone that didn't really want to open up. I know that's not normally how it
Yeah.
would work for you, Victoria, but
No.
how would you deal with it? So if you did have someone, just understanding those situations, what sort of language could you use? How could you sort of help them and establish that relationship to be able to get them to open up? I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, that rarely happens because we're obviously funded to help people. So if people
Mm.
come in that don't want help, we
Yeah.
we
It's
wouldn't
just
be
that
helping them.
that you just need to have that understanding of how you might deal with that situation.
Yeah.
Maybe you know, with a colleague, a work colleague, or it might not necessarily be the people that you work with. It could
Yeah.
be other people or family members.
I think sometimes as well, it's not even that it's that somebody's come to you and they don't want the help. They know that they want help. So they've come to you and they're telling you about some of their challenges, but you know that they're just not opening up completely. So I've had somebody that came to me and he was telling me that he was having issues, and I could tell when he was talking to me that he was being completely honest about them challenges, but there were other things that were bothering him that he wasn't quite sure whether or not he should open up about. Now, whether or not that, because in the end it turned out that he had a drink problem. So he didn't want to tell us that he had a drink problem because obviously I'm in the same workplace as him. I've then got to report back and say, you know, like, we've had this welfare meeting, this is what's going on. And he was terrified he was going to lose his job if he was completely honest. But it was about building that bit of a relationship with him so that he felt comfortable enough that I'm not here to judge whether or not you've got that drink problem. I'm not here to judge whether or not you should be on site or not, but we need to help you, so you need to work with us. And if you're not completely honest with us, then we can't. And if I'm honest, if you're not being completely honest with me, are you being completely honest with yourself? And it was kind of making him think then, well, hang on a minute, yeah, I'm not being, if I'm not telling you everything, then I'm not being completely honest with myself or you, so I need to do that. And it was about building the relationship with that. So it was more about explaining to him. And like Victoria said before, it's about building that and saying, yeah, but it's not like I'm going to go out into the canteen and tell everybody else, oh, you know, he's a raging alcoholic. That's got nothing to do with it. I'm not interested in what anybody else wants to know. I just needed to make sure that he knew I only had his best interests, and so is the company. But we just need to make sure that you're okay.
Yeah.
And it was getting that across to him to make sure that he knew that it was a safe space, even though he was telling us some things, because obviously with the drink problem had then come into money problems, and then it had led to him not being in the family home, and it was a big. But he started off with the I'm not in the family home, but he wasn't opening up about why he wasn't in the family home until we spoke a bit more about it. But it was about getting that bit of information, because you can't put somebody down the right path to help themselves if they don't give you all the information to start off with.
Yeah.
We find that the most useful information only comes out when you've put your coat on to leave.
Yeah.
Or you've got your hand on the door.
Yeah.
And then actually the crux of it comes out. But there's not a particular language that we use, it's just time and empathy.
Yeah. Yeah, and building that relationship, isn't it?
But
Did
that's
you
it.
do
It's that first bit of the information,
Yeah.
the first bit of the conversation that you've had. It is building that, and then it's like they know they want to tell you all the time they're talking to you. They know they want to tell you that last bit of it, but like I said, they wait until you've got your hand on the door and they go, "But there is just one more thing." You go, "Here we go. This is what I really
this is
wanted to know."
Yeah. Yeah. And do you do is everything all face to face, or could it be over the telephone? Because that could make a difference, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's all face to face.
Yeah.
We can do either, but I personally hate doing it over the phone. I'd much prefer to do it face to face. We can go to people's houses though, which is quite handy.
In
So
their
we could
own,
actually go. We could go
in
and
their own
find,
environment.
yeah, in their own comfortable space. So we can also meet them in public spaces as well. Plus, we've got our own hub here where the community can come in and just have cups of tea, and it's like a safe space.
And
We're quite lucky.
How do you find it goes when do you have to do things on the telephone?
I personally don't like it. I find it quite stilted. I don't think you ever really get to the crux of the issue properly. I don't think people can trust you the same if they can't see your face.
Yeah, definitely. It is more awkward, isn't it?
Yeah. I'll only really do phone ones when I know it's something really straightforward, or perhaps they're not being entirely honest.
Mm.
Yeah.
And how can you tell someone's not being honest, do you think?
Because of how the referral comes through.
Yeah.
And they know we've got a delivery of air fryers, and all of a sudden their children can't eat anything but air fried foods, which I've had. Especially coming up to Christmas now, they make a nice gift, don't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, you do get, because you're dealing with people all the time, you do get a little sense sometimes for yeah, who's maybe not entirely honest.
Yeah.
Or genuine.
What about yourself, James?
I think if I reflect, the bit I find most difficult is the silences.
Yeah.
I've come to get better at being more comfortable with them, but I think kind of no, we don't like silence anymore, I think, as humans, and sometimes kind of that person might be sitting in silence because they're processing something, or they can't find the words, or that they might just need a bit of time and a bit of headspace to kind of get them into the place that they want to get to and you want them to be in. But yeah, I think when I first kind of started these type of conversations, I used to fill the silences, but actually that isn't particularly useful, and it probably creates kind of more overwhelm sometimes for the individual. Sometimes they might be leading quite chaotic lives. They might have things going on at home. They might have had things happen before they even kind of walked through the door that morning. So kind of giving that space for a point or a disclosure to kind of breathe can be really, really valuable. But yeah, I must admit it's something that I've had to work hard on and had to practice a lot of, because again, when there is silence, your natural, or my natural tendency is to just jump in and start talking again.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because sometimes silence is golden, isn't it? But then sometimes it can be awkward, but sometimes they just want to sit there like that, don't they? Or they might want to, I don't know, feel like they're going to cry if they talk anymore, and they just want a couple of minutes just to get their
Sometimes it might be the first time they've ever actually vocalized the issue. We had that about 6 weeks ago. It was a young guy came in with housing issues, but there was millions of other issues, and I don't think he'd ever said them all out loud. And as he was kind of going through the process basically of his life, the impact was hitting him. It was actually, well, it was more difficult for him than for us, obviously, but it was quite aggressive, but not obviously aimed at me, but at everything else, like all thanking like the unfairness of life and how he didn't deserve it, which was debatable. But some things are, we make choices in life, don't we? But there was that was definitely the first time I think he'd ever said it out loud. And we went through like literally every emotion. From at one stage I thought he was going to leave the door and jump into the river outside. It got that emotional that he pulled himself back. But honestly, that was quite a tricky one.
How do you deal with the different emotions then? So how do you deal? Because I always feel a bit awkward if someone starts to cry, and just knowing what to sort of say to make them feel a little bit better, I suppose. So how do you deal with the different emotions like anger, crying?
Yeah, with crying, they normally apologise straight away, and you say, "Don't be sorry."
Yeah.
Don't be sorry. You cry. It's absolutely fine. Go and get them some tissues normally. But yeah, we do get that, and sometimes you will get a whole range of emotions. I think with anger as well, you let it burn out. Let them get out what it is that they want to say and what's made them angry. And then once they've got kind of to the end of what they're releasing, then start bit by bit unpicking it.
Yeah. Any other little tips or tricks that people have used? No. I think we covered most of it there, didn't we? Okay, so if we have a little look at some examples in practice. So we're going to highlight how rapport and active listening can overcome initial hesitation. So hesitation, a hesitant client was encouraged to open up after their trainer matched their tone and summarised their concerns. Reflective listening helps uncover barriers such as lack of time or exercise, and then the rapport built during the conversation led to a stronger client-trainer relationship. So how can you adapt techniques to suit your role, do you think? I think we've covered most of those, haven't we? Active listening, being empathetic, any other sort of things that you can use?
Sometimes you do have to share their frustrations. I mean, we don't generally like to talk about ourselves, but sometimes you kind of have to deal with recently been dealing with quite a lot of people with neurodiversity, and I think that they are happier to talk to me because I've got, between myself and my partner, we've got 5 children, and 3 of them are neurodiverse. So I think when they realise that actually we've navigated the system and we understand their trials and frustrations, that can help.
Yeah, definitely. And it shows you've got the same experiences, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good to share experiences, I think, isn't it? But then sometimes you don't want to overshare.
Yeah, that's true.
There's sometimes isn't that person that got an example for everything. Oh yeah, if someone's lost.
Oh yeah, that's awful. They've lost both of theirs.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Or they
oh,
know
yeah.
someone that's lost both, or yeah.
Definitely, because that's not helpful. Because
No.
that's kind of belittling
Yeah.
their experience, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you're using things like if you're getting someone really struggling with the education system, if we can say, yeah, it's really, really difficult. This is good support. We recommend a lot of peer-to-peer support anyway, to people, because it's the best form of support. Sometimes you get the best tips and tricks, don't you, from people going through the same things as yourself.
Yeah.
So in situations like that, although you're not really revealing your personal situation, you could give the empathy of, this is a nightmare, this situation, right? But this is how we're going to tackle it. But yeah, you are right to be frustrated.
Yeah. It's quite good to have a, what did you call it, peer to peer, or
Yeah,
a buddy,
peer-to-peer
like a
support.
buddy system, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what we try and do with the variety of issues that people present with is, if we are aware of peer-to-peer support, we always give them the information. It's not for everybody, but I
Yeah.
think a lot of issues make you feel very isolated and alone. And if you can actually go and meet in a group where there's other people, it just makes you feel just that little bit less isolated, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So let's summarize the key steps then to applying these techniques effectively. So we're going to outline the actionable steps for building rapport and active listening. So we're going to demonstrate empathy and trust by showing genuine interest, use reflective listening to summarize and clarify concerns, match tone and body language to encourage openness, and encourage open-ended questions to foster deeper conversations. Which of them steps do you feel most confident applying yourselves? And maybe where do you need improvement, do you think? Mine would probably be the open-ended questions, knowing what to say. So in certain situations, sometimes I'm a little bit like, oh God, I don't really know what to say now to what they've said, or if they've cried. So that would probably be my need to improve. Whereas probably building rapport, depending on the situation, I think I can probably build that rapport quite well, talking about the kids or talking about family life, talking about the dog. So that's probably where I would be. What about any of you? Or do you feel like you're quite good at it anyway?
I think the reflective listening part can always be kind of improved from my perspective. I think based on what the guys were saying as well, sometimes we have a limited time with people, so you know where kind of you've got to stop a conversation sometimes because you might have another appointment, or that person might have kind of something else on in their day. So it's kind of making sure that you leave enough time sometimes at the end of those interactions to really reflect back and kind of almost present the key points of that conversation. Because sometimes when people are coming in, they might be talking about multiple different things all at the same time, and I guess it's a bit of a skill, isn't it, to find out. I think you said it, Victoria, like in terms of finding out what the real issue is, and sometimes you need longer than a 20-minute, half an hour conversation to get to that point.
Yeah, definitely. I would. I'd have to make
much
so many.
longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, much longer. You need a good couple of hours sometimes. Because you also don't want people to think that they've got a 20-minute allocation and then next on to the next thing. It just feels a bit clinical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, like Helen, you were saying, like sometimes like feeling awkward when people ask things or they cry. I mean, generally what I do in those situations is I'm just really, really honest and I say, I don't know what to do about this, but I will find out for you.
Yeah.
And think generally then they appreciate the honesty because we can be asked all sorts of things and I just say, I've never ever been asked this ever before. But I'm sure I'll know someone who has and take it from there.
Yeah, and it's good to know who to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, brilliant. So we're going to reflect on what we've learned so far. So key takeaways from activity 13 then is rapport and active listening. Create a foundation of trust. These skills uncover individual needs and challenges, and open communication is key to addressing the barriers. Any questions about that one so far? No? So we're going to have a little look at behavioural interventions then. So activity 14 is designing behavioural interventions. So we're going to focus on designing interventions that promote behaviour changes using evidence-based models and tailored approaches. Behaviour change models like COMBI and theoretical models provide a framework for understanding change. Tailored interventions ensure solutions address individual barriers and goals, and collaborative approaches empower individuals and build ownership. So hopefully then by the end of this one, the activity will help you design effective and person-centered behavioural interventions by understanding the key principles to create impactful strategies. Let's have a look at the aims. So the aims and objectives of the activity focus on applying behavioural changes, understand the models of behaviour change to identify barriers, design tailored interventions that address individual needs, and then co-develop actionable steps using SMART tools and goals. These objectives will guide you to creating interventions that are both practical and effective. And then we'll have a little look at the first focus, so which is behaviour changing models. Oh, there we go. So behaviour changing models provide a foundation for understanding influence and change. These models outline stages of change from pre-contemplation to maintenance. Has anyone ever heard of COMBI? Capability, opportunity, and motivation as drivers of behaviour? No. So hopefully these models then will help identify barriers and tailor interventions effectively. So what behaviour change models do you find most relevant to your work and why? Do you use behaviour change models? Yeah? What ones do you use, James?
I use that trans-theoretical model quite a lot, particularly when it comes to things like we've done smoking projects in the past or weight management projects.
Do you work with Livewire with those ones?
Yeah. Find it really, really useful. We've got to a stage, I think, with a lot of those type of projects where we've started to identify individuals and help them kind of identify in themselves where they sit in terms of those stages of behavior change, because ultimately if they're not ready to change, you can waste a lot of resources and a lot of time on trying to convince someone to do something they don't want to do. So there's a few kind of clues and checkpoints we now have with people to really help them identify in themselves if they're ready, and some people aren't because of personal motivations or circumstances. So we now look a lot at the contemplators in terms of kind of getting people ready to move to that next stage, and then ultimately to action.
Yeah, good. Victoria, do you use any?
No, well, we don't use anything that we put a name to, but
Okay.
like looking at it, yeah, we do. And we deal with people like looking at the pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparedness. We deal with people who are at completely different like steps on that journey each time. And sometimes we'll meet somebody and we can get straight into action.
Yeah.
And sometimes we'll meet them and it'll be completely pre-contemplation, contemplation, realizing what the issues are, giving information, and then making them like take the step to do that. So yeah, we don't use anything with like formalized. We've never done that, but automatically I think that's probably what most of us naturally kind of adhere to.
Yeah. Have you heard of these, Angela?
No, I'd probably say the same as Victoria said. Like we do it, but there isn't
It's specific.
it's not been named and given a this is what we're doing. So we probably do, but it's just like just naturally kind of that's how you do it. Just makes sense, but not that I've not heard of them.
Yeah, definitely. So behaviour change models are essential tools for designing effective interventions. So we're going to have a look at tailoring interventions now. Next one. So tailoring interventions ensures that addressing individual barriers and priorities. So we identify barriers such as time, motivation and access, collaborate with individuals to create co-design solutions, and then ensure interventions are practical, achievable, and align with the person's goals. So what barriers have you observed in work and how have you addressed them then when you're talking about tailoring interventions?
I think the biggest one for one that I've ever come across that would be the biggest barrier would be the time to do it. And not only that, we have a space where we can go if we need to speak to people, so that you're not in a meeting room and somebody's knocking on the door every 5 minutes going, "Are you going to be long?" So we do have a space where that doesn't happen. But at the same time, it's right next to another space that's used by some of the colleagues here that it's the prayer room. But whoever decided to do it has put the prayer room in and not taken into consideration that on a normal basis, Muslim men and women do not pray together.
Oh,
They pray separately.
Yeah.
So they've got the prayer room and they've got what they call the reflection room, which is where you can go in there, and that's where the mental health first aiders that we've got on site go. That's where we can go and talk to people. However, because of the fact that when this was put in place and they don't pray together, they normally do it separately, it's now generally become a men go this way, women go this way. So when you need to go and use this reflection room, as they've called it, you can't, because there's normally somebody in there praying. And I'm not going to be the one that's going to stand there, knock on the door and go, "Yeah, you can't do that, get out." I'm absolutely not starting that kind of worms of, "You're not allowed to pray in here, get out." Not a chance. So it's just finding somewhere else then normally that, and they're looking at it, but we're a bit, believe it or not, in a warehouse the size of this one, we're a bit stuck for space. So they are looking at splitting the other prayer room so that everybody's then catered for and everybody can have their own space, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so time, because you know, it might be that somebody needs to speak to you, but I haven't got time at the minute because I need to go and find somewhere that I can speak to you. So it's the access to somewhere to go and then the time to be able to do it is probably our biggest barrier.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, James? Anything you sort of can think of?
I think the biggest barrier really is trying to find something that kind of keeps that person at the center of everything. And by that, I mean, very often, a lot of people I work with have different responsibilities within the family. So there might be a mum or a dad or a carer in some cases, and they put everyone else first, which in some ways sometimes causes maybe some of the issues that they come to our projects with. So first and foremost, it's about trying to find kind of, go back to your point, Angela, as well, the time for them, because their
Yeah.
lives are so busy and there's so many other conflicting priorities. Very often that individual is the last on the list, because again, we've talked before today about kind of different needs of different family members. Very often that can be draining and can be exhausting, and then that self-care of that individual is neglected, which can cause the physical health issues, can cause the emotional health issues, and they're just exhausted and ultimately burnt out by life. So I think for them it's around trying to find those small moments sometimes in the day to think about, well, if I'm not well and I'm not functioning at my optimal, I can't then help other people. And sometimes it takes people a while to realize that they are the most important person in that situation, because if they're in bed or they're not able to do the things that they need to do for other people, then their whole kind of life then becomes affected.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Have you got any barriers, Victoria? Oh, you're on mute.
I'm on mute.
Oh.
Sorry, I got called off with an urgent phone call. So, our barriers mainly are other services.
Yeah.
We find, you know, we know what's going on, and we know what we need to do to try and rectify it, but it's trying to get them in to other services, and one of the big ones is mental health. There's like a 48-week waiting list. Well, that's not much cop for someone who's in crisis, is it?
Yeah.
You know, can you wait another year?
Another year.
We do have alternatives, but that, you know, NHS provision's really, really poor here, as I suppose it is everywhere actually. So that's normally a bit of a barrier, and also other organisations not being transparent on who they can and can't help. So, you know, you might think, oh, these will be really good to work with this person, and you send a referral off, and then 2 weeks later get reply going, oh no, we didn't contact them because I don't think we cover this. So it's like third parties really that are biggest barrier and frustration.
Especially if it takes a couple of weeks for them to come
Yeah,
back
and you
to you.
haven't realised maybe that
Yeah.
they've not been contacted, or, you know, yeah, sometimes that can be quite poor.
Yeah. And then you feel like you've let them down then.
Yeah, you do, because
Yeah.
we're the ones who have to explain what's happened. And it's not our fault, but we're kind of like the end of the line.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any other things that you can do for those barriers then? Is there other services that can be used?
Yeah, I mean, we try. I mean, it's very rarely that we ever get anything that's like an absolute, like, no. There's always someone else, but we always make our position very clear, and hope that they understand that we're not actually the support. We are here to make sure you're getting the correct support, and it's that there is a grey area obviously with people, but yeah, it's rare that we can't find any solution, but sometimes you just kind of have to try and make other things better if you can't directly help that itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, tailoring interventions ensures they're relevant and achievable, isn't it? Making sure that you can help that individual person.
Yeah, I mean, there's always somewhere they can go, but I mean, the bigger the organisation and the more nationwide it is, the longer you wait.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Right, so we've got another scenario. I won't bother with the breakout room again. So this is the activity 14 one on the second page of the handout that I sent you. So you've got, you're working with a client who wants to adopt a healthier lifestyle but is really struggling with motivation and time constraints. Your task is to design a tailored intervention that supports their goals while addressing their challenges. So identify specific barriers such as lack of time, low confidence, different priorities, and then use behavioural change models, to guide the intervention and create some SMART goals for them. So if you just want to have a little discussion about that, how you would do it. So just think about a healthy lifestyle. Like for me then, my barriers are the kids do something every day, not just, I don't have a day off. They do something every day. Swimming's Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, football's Thursday and a Sunday, gymnastics is a Wednesday, Friday and a Sunday. So it's that time constraint for me. So my, I suppose, SMART goal would be to get up at 5:30 in the morning and go for 6.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh, I know. I did say that's what we need to doing. So like, what sort of things could you put in place for someone then who wanted to adopt a healthy lifestyle? I mean, you could just start with maybe their food and a little walk at lunchtime, couldn't you? So just little things. What could you put in place? So just have a little chat between yourselves and see what you can come up with.
What we sometimes do in that situation is when we're having like our initial conversation, we'll say, do you fancy doing a walk and talk next week? And then they're getting a chance to offload, but they're also getting out a little bit. And then what we try and do a bit sneakily is try and walk them to somewhere that might be of use to them. So then you can kind of show them. We call them an asset. We can say, oh look, there's you're struggling at the moment with your mental health and you're struggling with finances. Let's have a little walk here. This is on your doorstep. It's also a social supermarket and they've also got a kids club. So you can you can walk with them, show them where it is, and you can even walk them through the door. So they've got that familiarity, but they're also, so you kind of making a few steps to make some further changes down the way. But if they don't want to go, you just have a little walk past and they've got out. Sometimes we deal with people who haven't left the house for a long time.
Mm.
So that's always nice to do.
Yeah. Actually, me and my line manager did that for a bit because we were part of the wellbeing team and we did a walk and talk. Just on I think it was a Teams call, but like a voice for Teams call. And I think we did 2 miles in the end, which I wouldn't have done if we didn't do that. So we sort of had our meeting as a walk and talk. That's quite good. And I always say I'm going to do it every day, but I never do. I'm usually just stuck behind the computer and think, God, I haven't had a break today. So it is stuff that you need to put in, isn't it?
Yeah, we try and do it. Sometimes if we do have to make a phone call, I try and do it and go for a walk at the same time. My colleague, I work with, is much better at doing that than me. I quite often just sit here.
And then think, gosh, I haven't had a drink today.
I've just been made. I've been made one. I'm okay.
I don't think the dog can make me one.
Oh.
And what other things could you sort of think of that you could put into place to adopt a healthier lifestyle for someone then?
I think for me, one of the things that we have done recently is kind of reframe some of those discussions. So when you talk to people, they know what they should potentially be eating to be healthier. They know that they need to be physically active. But for some, I think you just said it there, actually just moving more is the starting point. So we don't call it physical activity on some of our health projects now. We call it joyful movement. We don't call it mental health. We call it mental fitness. So again, it's those small bits that kind of ultimately, if you do for a long time, end up becoming habits. So like you said there, if you're not getting up every hour to walk around, putting a kind of a little incentive or a reward there to kind of reinforce that, and then once you start to do it more regularly, it becomes a habit. So like you were saying there, like every hour, have I got up and I've made a cup of tea, or have I got up and taken the dog for a 5-minute walk out in the garden or around the block or whatever it is, and actually kind of putting the decision making back sometimes in the hands of the individual. Well, what can you do rather than what you can't do?
Definitely. And I wouldn't be able to take my dog for a 5-minute walk. We wouldn't get anywhere because he's a bulldog and he's so lazy. But that is my plan. I keep saying it every week. I think I've said it every week since January. I'm going to go for a lunchtime walk, but it hasn't happened. And what are the little healthy lifestyle habits could you possibly put in?
Meal planning.
Yeah. Even if it's just, doesn't even have to be like the full meal, does it? It could just be, I'm going to take out a chocolate bar today and I'm going to have an apple or something. It could just be something as simple as that, couldn't it?
But you tend
What?
to find it's some people that if you get home from work and you're not entirely sure what you're going to have for your evening meal and the kids want feeding and, or you've just done the school run and I've been doing whatever it is you've been doing and you've got to get back and you've just got to, and you don't know what you're making, you end up making a worse choice than it would have been if you'd have planned your meal.
it.
Because
Yeah.
if you've got your meal planned, you only shop for the things that you need for the meals that you've planned, which then just helps you out in the long run.
It's also better financially as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so you're not only helping you're not only helping the healthy lifestyle, but you're helping your pockets as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
And then makes it so that if I stick to this meal plan at the end of the month, we can go out and do whatever it is as a family because we've saved this amount of money on the healthier meals that we've not been buying. So you can go out and treat the family then, can't you? And
Yeah.
that's kind of your reward then. And then you've got something to look forward to as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think it's the three things with it's going, that's more weight loss, I suppose. So it's getting with the three things. So snacking, takeaways, and alcohol, isn't it? So it's cutting those out or down or whatever you need to do for probably more weight loss than more of a healthier lifestyle, but it'll give you a healthier lifestyle if you're gonna lose weight in the end, isn't it?
Yeah, snacking's my thing. I can't stop doing that. I think it's because I think it's because I'm sat behind a desk all day though. It's really, really easy to just
Yeah.
grab
Well,
something, but then it gets to break time. You're like, well, I'm not hungry now because I've spent the last 4 hours snacking while I've been sat at my desk. So now I don't want to eat my chicken salad that I've got or my tuna salad or whatever it is. So then you sat there going, yeah, well, that's that failed then.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to replace some of my snacks with
that's what I've
cucumber
done.
or carrots or something that I should be eating.
I put grapes by my desk normally so I could eat them.
It's temptation as well, isn't it? Because again, especially this time of year, people bring in chocolates or cakes or everything, and I found myself in the past just almost because they're there, kind of go into them and thinking, oh, I'll just have one or two with a brew, but then
you don't. You have 20 or 30,
exactly,
don't you?
and before you know it, you've got a 5 or 6 wrappers that are sat there, and you kind of can't even remember eating them.
Yeah, definitely.
I am. If there's biscuits in the house, and I know there's biscuits in the house, it's one of my weaknesses. So I'll go to them, even if I hide them, or put them in a really kind of inaccessible place. I will know they're there, and it'll play on my mind. So I just don't buy biscuits anymore, and they're not in the house, so I can't have them. And that's sometimes the temptation, especially I see it all the time working in health environments. We're promoting healthy lifestyles, and there's tubs of sensations on the side, and kind of I know it's only a small thing sometimes, but one can lead to 2, can lead to 4 or 5, can lead to 10 or 11, and before you know it, like you were saying there, Angela, you full up before you even had your lunch.
I had one worker in DW, and she ate nearly a whole tub the one day, and she was a blinking diabetic. So then she had a flipping hyper. And we didn't know she was a diabetic. She hadn't disclosed it either. So it was only because she'd said, I need my insulin. We were like, what do you mean? But yeah, it's definitely snacking. That's what I've given up, is snacking. That's one of my tricks for losing all my weight I've lost, which is good. So I don't sit in the car when they're in gymnastics, football, whatever, snacking anymore. I'm quite happy because I've done it for so long now. I'm quite happy just to sit there and go on my computer. And I think half the time it was just a habit. But yeah, that's one of my tricks. Any other things you think you could put in place?
I just need to not work in this office because behind me is a table which does have fruit on, but it also has a box of Quality Street at the moment. And that will be replaced by another box of Quality Street probably continuously, because people are very kind and they buy thank yous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of my other learners that work in a gym. I think they work in a hotel gym, and one member every year buys them. I think 24 cans. So like Coke. So she buys them Coke. There was like 4 or 5 different ones. Big massive multi-packs of crisps, and she does that monthly for them as well. And they're a gym. And they're like, you've got to stop this. We need fruit and, healthy stuff, not all this rubbish stuff. Because then they're like, today I've had a can of Coke, a pack of crisps, a bar of chocolate, because she's bought it in today and it's all there. But it's taking away that temptation, isn't it? As well. And setting things in place for you to stick with. Bro. So we'll have a little look at
Sorry, I won't be a minute, but I've just noticed my battery's about to die and my laptop's not plugged in. So if I disappear in a minute, I'm very sorry. It's because my battery died, and I'll be back with you as soon as I plugged it in.
Oh, do you know what? I'm in the same position, actually. I know why. The kids have been plugging in the other computer. There we are. There we go. It's a good job you mentioned that. You would have just turned off as well, mine. So just looking at examples in practice. So this example highlights the importance of collaboration and tailoring interventions. A fitness program for busy parents was co-designed to include short home-based workouts. Participants reported higher engagement due to the practical and achievable nature of the program. SMART goals were used to track progress and celebrate small wins. So they created a walking program that fitted into lunch breaks and used SMART goals to track their progress. How can you adapt to an example? So different things that you could bring into your community or workplace. So we've already sort of said we could do like a walking lunch or a walking meeting. Any other little bits you think you could put in? Maybe one thing I might think of is having that, maybe not 5 minutes every hour, but a little 5-minute break where you go and get a glass of water, or when we did the Wellbeing, we did chair yoga. I don't know if anyone actually took it up, but it was just giving them ideas of little things that they could do. For me to have a little break, I might go and put the washing machine on, or chuck it in the tumble dryer and put the washing machine on again.
I change where I'm sat. So
Yeah.
today I'm in a different room to where I'd normally be sat, just in terms of changing, because I've got to move there. I've got to go up a flight of stairs. I've got another meeting after this, and I'll move to a different part of kind of the building. So just kind of changing it up means I've got to move a bit more.
Yeah. I try and do that at the supermarket as well, because I like to park away from all the other cars. So I park as far away, because they always bash your cars, don't they? But you can always guarantee that someone will park right next to you, don't they?
Always. It doesn't matter where you park.
Doesn't matter where you park. I'm like, oh my God, I've parked all the way over here to be away. It's always normally quite a nice car, though, that'll park next to you, I think. Because they've probably got the same idea as you, haven't they? Any other little things? Like I might just have a little quick tidy up for 5 minutes or something, just to have a little break from the computer. Otherwise, I'm sat here for 8 hours sometimes, thinking, oh gosh, I haven't done anything. Not that I really want to put the Hoover around or anything, but it's I suppose a little bit of exercise, isn't it? A little 5-minute break away from the computer, and just having 5 minutes to yourself, or actually having lunch and sitting away from your desk as well, I think is a good one, isn't it? I probably don't do that enough. What about you?
We do, because
You do.
we're always told, remember, you're not getting paid for this hour.
Yeah.
So
Oh, you have an hour off.
Yeah.
Can you leave the building then as
Yeah,
well
of course.
if you wanted to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're normally not in the office, to be honest. We're normally only in first thing in the morning, and at the end of the day, we're normally out and about.
Okay.
Most of the time.
It's nice, you can get to see a bit of different scenery.
Yeah, we go to different drop-ins, we go and meet people, we knock on doors to find people.
Yeah. And what about you, James? You said you already said you move around a little bit more. Would you get out of the building at all?
Yeah, again, I try and make sure that I'm out of the building at least once a day. It's really difficult because I work opposite a big Tesco, so the easy option, if I haven't brought anything
Don't get a
for
meal
lunch,
deal.
yeah, is to walk over there, and again, sometimes in terms of kind of where we're located, it's not too far away from the town centre. So even though it's probably an extra 5 minutes on top of walking across to Tesco, the natural response, and again they've done it deliberately, is to just walk straight across the road to Tesco. Whereas sometimes I have to kind of make sure that I hold myself accountable and say, well, hold on a minute, for an extra 5 minutes kind of there and an extra 5 minutes back, that's getting my steps up. I try, and again, I need to be perhaps a little bit hotter in the new year of trying to make sure that I get to 10,000 steps in the day as quickly as possible. Because there's times when I've kind of got to about 2 o'clock and realised that I've done about 2,500 steps, which again is not great really. But yeah, trying to kind of hold myself a little bit accountable to it as well, and also not being afraid to celebrate some of those small wins as well. I think very often you can kind of get into the situation of if I've not done it today, I'll do double tomorrow. Well, no, that's gone. Just go back to the start. Don't beat yourself up too much about it. There'll be reasons why you've not done it, but tomorrow start again, and don't be afraid to start again as well.
Yeah, I think that's dead important to not punish yourself because you've not done it one time.
Yeah.
But we've got opposite our office, we've got a KFC.
Oh,
so you can imagine 5 o'clock when you're leaving and you're hungry and you get the little smell wafting.
And that smell.
I haven't been in all the time I've worked here. I have to say I've not been.
Oh, you're not?
I don't know how I've managed that. Like,
there was one right by our gym.
Yeah, it's ridiculous,
Right by the
isn't
gym.
it? The road is busy, so I'm just, it'd be a pain to cross. Just don't look at it. I don't park my car near it.
Yeah.
Opposite direction.
My biggest thing is the bus doesn't stop outside the house anymore, the school bus. So we got to go over the shop, and we've got into the habit of driving over to the shop. So that's my biggest thing that I need to change. So that's my New Year's resolution, is that the trouble is though, it's been so cold and frosty, hasn't it, that it's just like, oh God, just jump in the car, it's quick, it's warm. So that's my New Year's resolution, is to walk to the bus stop, because it's only probably about 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah, you feel better for it as well, don't you, when you get in?
Yeah.
But it's just that motivation.
Yeah, definitely. So that is my New Year's resolution. I am definitely going to be doing that. We've only got another week left now. Brill. So it's good to tailor interventions, create ownership, and ensure sustainability. So we just got some key steps to apply. So actionable steps for designing effective behavioural interventions. So using behavioural change models to identify barriers and opportunities, collaborate with individuals to co-design solutions, use SMART goals to set clear, measurable objectives, and regularly monitor progress and adjust a plan as needed. Do you feel like you do those steps, or is this something you could be better at? Mine would be that school run in the morning, definitely setting that goal and sticking to it. And I suppose giving yourself a pat on the back for doing it.
Yeah, I'm guilty of sometimes not matching my expectations with the reality of other people. So again, in terms of, I probably use the SMART goals quite a lot in every element of my life, but for some people, they've never maybe even thought about it or know how to use it. So kind of to start with, it's introducing them to what they are, and starting really, really small as well. Probably because I've been using them for a little while, it becomes almost second nature. Whereas for some people, it's like, well, okay, I want to do this. And it's quite ambitious sometimes. It's about paring it back and saying, well, yeah, that's your ultimate goal, but let's set some smaller goals to start with, and let's start using that kind of that SMART approach with everything.
Yeah.
It's a bit like that Michael Mosley, Just One Thing, isn't it? Where you just do one thing. Mind you, I'm a bit like, I listen to that, want to do all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which kind of defeats the object.
It's the same as the one touch, isn't it? So you touch something once. So when you come in, you don't put your keys on the side. Oh, right, I'll put them away now. You put them away straight away. So
Yeah.
it's like keep creating those little things. My kids are laughing because they're like, where's this one touch thing come from then? I said, I don't know, I seen it on something. But I said, but if you did it, then it wouldn't be messy. You wouldn't have shoes everywhere. And then you might apply that to everything else then, mightn't you? So these steps should provide a structured approach to creating impactful interventions. So let's reflect on what we've learned so far. Key takeaways from activity 14. Behavioural change models provide a framework for understanding barriers. Tailored interventions promote ownership and sustainable changes. Collaboration ensures solutions are practical and achievable. So anything we've sort of like talked about that you might think, oh, I might incorporate that intervention, or it's stuff you already do? I'm definitely going to set myself some goals and get out and about and move a little bit more, I think. So I might make sure I've got my watch on, because I used to always wear my Apple Watch and I haven't been wearing it lately. And actually looking at the activities on there and my activity goals, I think that's probably something I would take from it. Anything?
I need to get back into mine, because I was doing 10,000 steps a day, but then I got ill at the beginning of November, and I've been ill really on and off continuously ever since. So it's so easy. And then that habit is now stopped. So it'll be building that back up again. But again, it'll be the new year now.
Yeah.
Let's be, I'll be honest with myself. It's not going to be before then.
Yeah. Anyone else? Anything that you can look at behaviour changes?
Like I said, for me, it's definitely me snacking. I need to stop. For me, little bags of mini cheddars and all sorts
that was me. That was
flowing about in the little bags of mini cheddars. Or there's always biscuits or something though. Somebody's always put a tin of biscuits on the side. But I'm not really a biscuit person. But then at the same time, if somebody's brought them in, and then you've got 4 or 5 desks around you, and they're all, all you can hear is them munching away on biscuits, you think,
you've got FOMO then, haven't you?
It's rude if you don't. So before you know where you're up to, you've eaten half a tin of biscuits between 4 of you, and it's like, oh no, it's not fun.
What's annoyed
so I need to stop snacking.
What's annoyed me though is because I have stopped snacking, I'll go to get something then, and everybody's eating it in this house. And I'm like, well, that's not fair. Where's my quota? Surely there should still be something, even if I haven't eaten mine, it should still be here for me to have one little thing.
You've got to take it out and hide it when you do the shopping, when you unpack. It's the only way we can do it in this house.
Yeah,
it's hidden.
Got to hide it.
I have a tin that says Mum's Treats on it, and anybody knows if it's in that little tin, don't touch it. Leave it alone. On pain of death, touch the Mum's Treats.
They would just eat it anyway.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, you're writing that down now.
It's only little so that I can't overfill it with too much. So it's probably, I don't know, about 12 inches tall. So it's not a very big
No
thing.
one's allowed to touch it.
But it says Mum's Treats, and the kids bought it me for Mother's Day, so it's in there. And then that's it then. So, it's only little. I can only have that many treats for, until I go shopping at the end of the month or whatever. Yeah. So if I eat them too soon, tough.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, then. That's the theory anyway. I'm not saying it always works.
Just hide the treats in the fruit and veg bit at the bottom, because they won't go in there, will they?
I don't know, my niece's kids do.
I know, I'm going to say mine probably will. My son probably will.
Yeah, and probably my youngest would if there was fruit here.
Yeah, no.
If there was grapes, she likes to freeze the grapes. Then they like sweets then.
Not a bad idea.
And if you put jelly crystals on them and then freeze them, they're like proper little fizzy sweets. She loves doing that. There's a little trick.
There you go.
Do you want to have
maybe I'll try that instead of the mini cheddars.
I had to give up then because I just eat the whole 6-pack. I think that's how I've lost so much weight, is not eating them.
Frazzles is probably my thing. The bacon flavored Frazzles. Because you can't eat one bag of them, you have to eat two. Anyway, that's true.
No, I'd eat all 6, I would have. I don't know, but I would have. Do you want a little coffee break? Yeah? Go on, have 10 minutes and then we'll come back and do the last bits. Oh, I just put the coffee maker on, so it smells delicious, but it's not quite ready. Ooh. So we're moving on to activity 15, which is behavioural change techniques. So this is going to focus on practical techniques to support individuals in achieving their goals and sustaining behaviour changes. We're going to use tools like motivational interviewing, SMART goals to create actionable steps, encouraging autonomy and empowerment through person-centered approaches, and build confidence. So hopefully this activity will equip you with practical techniques to apply behavioural science in your role. By mastering these techniques, ensure individuals feel supported and capable of making lasting changes. It's nice to make lasting changes, I think, though, isn't it? So this year I've done, me and my husband, we put in our goals. So we stopped snacking, stopped taking takeaways, and we both lost like 4.5 stone, nearly 5 stone. And you can, I think when my picture comes off, you can see the difference.
That's really good.
So I've gone, well, the other day I was so like, I had a party, but it's really funny because you've got to change your mental thinking, haven't you? So I'm still going towards the 16s clothes and stuff like that. And then I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to fit into that. And I actually, and he did the same. So he picked, we went in, his was, he noticed a lot sooner. So quite a few weeks ago, he noticed. So he didn't have no clothes. He was like, oh my God, they're all falling off. Went in and took in a 34 pair of jeans and ended up with a 32, which we hadn't worn since he was 19, that size. And then I did the same the other week. I was like, oh, I'm in the same position as you now that you were a couple of weeks ago. Nothing's fitting. And picked up a size, I thought, nah, a 12 ain't going to fit. Slipped on like a glove, probably a bit too big. But how good does that make you feel that you've made those changes and those behaviours and then you've got that outcome?
I think that's the best way to do it, isn't it? Rather than, I mean, I did Slimming World years ago and you lose the weight, yeah, but it's such a false way of eating. With so many rules, it's not really maintainable. So you do need to make like realistic lifestyle choices, don't you?
I just in the world for years and years and years. And I did lose quite a bit. It wasn't quite a bit. I think it was only about 1 stone 9 or something like that, back before I had children. And I did maintain it. But you sort of like, I don't know, you brainwash yourself into like, I wouldn't use olive oil. I don't use the spray oil and and things like that. Whereas
it's not a healthy choice, is it? Sometimes in the end, I remember thinking, what sort of diet says you can't have cereal and then a sandwich in the same day? I mean, that's and I was like, nah.
Yeah, so it's almost like you're brainwashed into thinking those
completely,
things,
and you're counting your sins every time you choose a food.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why can't you have a bar of chocolate if you want it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's just making those right choices for you in certain situations that get you then the results you. I never thought for 1 minute that I'd be now coming up to Christmas being where I wanted to be. Oh, I wanted to be fit in 40. Probably I wanted to be fit in 30, probably. No, I think no, it was all right when I was 30. I think I'd got to where I wanted to be, but then I had kids then. So probably 6 years ago, I wanted to be where I am now. And I never thought I would ever get there, but I've done it, and that was just because I've done behavioural changes and stopped the snacking. We don't really drink anyway, so that's not a big issue. And the takeaways, that's just being lazy, isn't it? Really, being lazy. Just do some cooking.
Yeah, it's when you've had a long day, isn't it? And you just and you don't want to think about what you want to have. But you never really enjoyed takeaway. I never really enjoyed them.
I did on Saturday though, because we did have a takeaway.
It was a treat.
Saturday,
yeah.
Because it wasn't something we've done, and I had something different as well. And we literally only had 2 things, so it only cost £16 as well, whereas normally it costs about 40 quid, doesn't it?
Oh yeah,
and it was nice. It was nice. I only ate a little bit, and I think my husband had it the next day for lunch as well. So that was quite nice, and there was something, that we've and I think we've saved loads of money as well because we haven't been having takeaways.
Yeah, you will do, definitely.
But it goes back then to what Angela said then about planning, doesn't it? So like I'll try and plan I know like a Wednesday's my late day where we're out quite late, but my 15-year-old will come in and cook us some food from school, so we eat before we go out now, and we'll have just a pasta bake or something. And then I'll try like on a Tuesday if I know we're going to be out a bit later, so we don't come in until 7:30. So there's something in the slow cooker to eat. So little things so that's the sort of goals that I've sort of put in place over the last. And I think it is right once you've done. There's like a saying, isn't it? Like 6 weeks to create a habit and 6 months then to create something. I can't remember it off by heart. I'll have to have a look for it. But it is right, because then now I'm not really interested in if there's a tin of chocolates. I might have one, whereas before I would have probably devoured half of them. And I think that's the mindset then, isn't it? So the aims and objectives of the behavioural change techniques is to apply evidence-based tools like SMART goals and action plans to support behaviour changes, promote autonomy and self-efficiency through people or person-centred approaches, and then develop strategies to maintain motivation and address setbacks. So then these objectives will help you empower individuals to achieve and sustain their goals. Let's have a look at behavioural change tools. So behaviour change tools provide structure and guidance for individuals working towards their goals. So I'm quite a listy person. I'd have to write listy things. So I've got my list then for my shopping. I've got my menu. So I've got like a Monday, Tuesday thing. So I'll set my menu as well. Sometimes it's really hard though to know what to put in there so that you've got something varied. Do you think as well? And sometimes it doesn't always work out, does it? So like I might plan it, and then I'll have to swap days around a little bit then because it doesn't quite work with what I need.
I love a list.
Yeah,
I love a list.
Yeah, I've always got lists.
It's a good way of budgeting as well, though, isn't it? Because
definitely.
You know what you're going to do. And I've gone off the boil recently again from being ill, and it's just chaos.
Yeah,
just spending money. No, but the house is full of food, but there's no meals whatsoever. There's just random items that I've bought that look nice. There's no sense whatsoever around it. So I did write a list for this week.
And it's thinking outside the box sometimes as well, isn't it? So like I think sometimes we get stuck with the same food. So it's thinking of something different that might be easier. So we've been doing noodles with just a bit of chicken and some sweet sauce or something. How quick is that? I whipped up something the other day and he went, "How have you done that so quick?" I said, "I don't know. I think it was just faggots and mashed potato and peas." So I microwaved it. I cheated. I microwaved it first and then put it in the oven to make it nice. Quickly I made the potatoes like really small so they cook quicker. And then we had like a nice hearty meal then in about 25 minutes. It wasn't too bad. But I think that goes from planning, so setting my SMART goals. I can't remember where I got all my key points now. So SMART goals create actionable and measurable objectives. Motivational interviewing uncovers barriers and builds commitment. And then action plans ensure individuals have clear step-by-step guidance. So that definitely works for me. How have you used SMART goals then in your role to support maybe different behaviour changes? And that could be in your role or, you know, with family members or friends or colleagues. How do you think you've done it?
Our fire alarm's gone off again.
Oh, no way. All right then. No worries. Like, well, when I went to the gym, we would set SMART goals for like fitness programs. So maybe like setting a client a realistic target as such as like starting with a 15-minute daily walk. So it might not necessarily be, you know, come in the gym and do it. It might be just go out on your lunchtime for 15 minutes or walk 7.5 minutes and then turn around and come back just to sort of set a little goal. Any other little bits that you might have used?
See, I'm really bad at it, so I probably need to start doing it for myself before I start telling
Doing
other
it for other
people,
people.
let's do this for you. Or I'm probably better at doing it for other people and saying, right, well,
Yeah.
we need to break it down. But then when it comes to me, I'm all over the place, and I might set myself things to do, and I'll set little goals to do and little steps to do, and then something happens and it's gone completely out the window.
Yeah.
So I try and use them, but yeah, no, I'm probably the worst person in the world for setting goals and sticking to them.
What about
Absolutely,
like
100%.
staff?
I need
other
to.
staff. What about other staff or colleagues? Ever set them
Yeah,
anything?
yeah, I can do that. Like we've not long since had a new colleague join, and obviously, when they joined the team, they were given the probation tasks and goals, and it's split up. So it's an Excel document, but it's split up into the weeks and then months of their 6 months probation. And I was really good at helping him to make sure that he's reaching all his goals and making sure and checking in with him. As his supervisor, you know, I need to make sure I'm checking in with him and I know where he's up to. And I was really good at doing that. But when it comes down to me doing any of that, I can't. It just does. It wouldn't work. I don't know. It should, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm terrible.
And another
My time management is probably my biggest thing. I need to sort that out.
so time management, you could use a diary, couldn't you? I
Yeah, and I
wouldn't be able
keep
to
getting
live
told,
without my
set yourself,
diary.
do this, and set
Yeah.
yourself, you know, put things in like it's on the calendar, on the work calendar, so that it's like a meeting, but it's not a meeting. It's just 2 hours for you to do whatever it is that you need to do, or
Yeah.
I've got SOPs I need to review, and then it's like, right, okay, well, put it on the calendar so that you don't get anything else, and everybody knows.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew's doing that at this time, so you can't ask for anything else but it never works.
Yeah.
Because
No.
something always happens in there, and I'll put my headphones in and I'll be doing something and I'll just get a, Ange, what happens? And I'll be like,
Oh.
just leave me alone for a minute.
Yeah.
And it doesn't
Yeah.
work, which is why when I have things like this, I leave the office. So at the
Yeah.
minute I'm sat in the meeting room next door to our office on my own, so I can't get but can you just have a look at it? No, I can't. Just leave me alone.
Yeah.
It
You have
sounds
to
really
do that
mean,
sometimes,
but I
though,
have
don't
to.
you? You have to do that sometimes. Yeah. James, anything you've used?
Pretty similar, really, in terms of putting activities in the calendar. I think probably kind of your own well-being tends to slip first, and I have to perhaps be a bit stronger with setting my boundaries. Whereas, like, physical activity I know it makes me feel good. I know it kind of helps me, but actually it's about that should be a non-negotiable in my day.
Yeah.
If I have a deadline or I have kind of other things that come in, that tends to go first, whereas actually it should be, no, that stays regardless
Yeah.
of the situation.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll work around that. But generally, and then once it goes once, it then becomes easier to let it go.
Definitely.
I also find having someone to keep me accountable is very, very useful. In terms of, oh, have you done this today? Or let's go and do this together. Because it's like tonight, I do a yoga session with someone, and I know if I don't go, they won't go, and vice versa. So having someone to do something with that we can then kind of, well, I'm not feeling it tonight. Well, I am. Come on, let's go
Let's
anyway,
go.
because
Yeah.
you know you're going to feel better for doing it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's that you can, from a personal perspective, talk yourself out of things before you've even done them.
Definitely. And I think definitely when it comes to exercise, I mean, you've got some people that, you know, that's this set in stone, isn't it? You've got to treat it sometimes like a dentist appointment, haven't you? You've got to put it in your diary, and it's non-negotiable. That's when you go in. Yeah, I need to start doing that as well. Doing it in the morning. So
I'm feeling all motivated now. I'm going to go and do my walks again after tea.
oh yes, that's all we want in there. Motivational.
I know my partner's a night worker, so that generally is the only hour we actually get to speak. So, but I
that'd
think
be nice.
it dropped off. It dropped off completely. But
Yeah.
now I'm thinking, right, I'm going to do it tonight.
I'm gonna do it tonight.
Unless it's raining.
Yeah. Well, really, I should go to the gym tonight because she swims. So the little one swims at 5 till 6. So me and the oldest can go to the gym on a Monday and a Tuesday, but we'll always have an excuse. So we did go in like 2 weeks ago, and then we didn't go last week. I'm like, right, we go in today now. That is our time, and we can spend that together as well. So it would be nice bonding. So that's quite a nice bonding time for you and your husband, I suppose, if you've only got that hour.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's the only time you
Yeah.
actually get to have a proper conversation.
Yeah, yeah. So those help, don't they? Those little things help. You build those different behaviours. And it's nice to have those behaviours in place, isn't it? Especially when they make you feel good. Any other sort of tools you might use to build motivation and track progress?
I think apps can be quite good now. Not really for me, but I probably should use them. But I know my daughter, one of my daughter's 17. She's doing her A levels, and she's got this little app with a little rabbit, and she has to put in how long she's revised and what subjects and stuff like that, or how long she's done. And I don't know. She's quite little, like quite young in her outlook. So you know, she gets like little outfits for her rabbit, little rewards. But she does it every single day.
Yeah.
She's always, you know, otherwise a little rabbit will starve. So, but
That's
just
good
things
though.
like that.
Yeah,
But I just thought, yeah, I probably could do with something like that. 'Cause
Yeah.
I could get quite competitive with it.
Yeah, definitely. And yoga, I need to go to yoga, James, because I've lost all my padding. And I have changed my shape as well. I've been having real trouble with my coccyx and sitting. And the physio said, he said, I'm not being like crude or anything, but were you bottom heavy? And I said, yeah, quite bottom heavy. He said, well, essentially you've lost all your padding. So I'm sat now and putting more pressure on my coccyx. So I need to go and do some yoga and build up my core and the underneath muscles. So like bridging and stuff like that. So I should need to do that just so I can sit and do my job. Or Pilates, I suppose, is another one, isn't it? Any other sort of things that you can think of that you would SMART goal or for behaviour changes?
I suppose it's a bit like the way, obviously we have the journal that we're doing while we're doing this course. Anything else you could use a journal to do that, and then
Do a bit of
at least,
reflection.
and then just sit, and even if that's only taking 10 minutes, and you make sure you do that 10 minutes every night and just write down on things that have gone well that day or haven't gone well that day and ways to change it, then at least you can look back and go, well, hang on, that day didn't go too well, but this is what I did the next day to fix it. And then that's where, and then that kind of helps you get back on track then.
Yeah. And there's apps, there is apps like that, there isn't there? You've got the, I know on the Apple Watch, you've got the breathe one as well. So that just does like 2 minutes where you just stop whatever you're doing and then you just breathe for 2 minutes, I think it is.
Yeah.
And it just gives you
I
like
have one
mind
similar one on my
reset.
Samsung watch.
Yeah. Just gives
That
you a
was a
little
breathe
chance
one.
to reset, doesn't it?
Yeah. But it's good to write things down, because then you can look back
Yeah.
and see. And then even sometimes going in, you know, for your own, like James was saying, you know, sometimes it's your own mental health and your own well-being that suffers first, you know, like because you're busy focusing on everybody else.
Mm.
That gives you the opportunity to look back, and when you're having a really crappy day and you just feel like, do you know what, I've not done as well as I could have done today. You look back and think, well, hang on, I've had other days like this, and I've still done all right the day after, or this is what I did and it made me feel better, and it just reminds you and helps you, like you said, it helps you reset.
Yeah. I
think I did one for about 3 months. And
Did you-
then I stopped doing it. And then I started back up probably a couple of months ago. I've got my little journal. It's in my bedside table. So if it's when I get home from work, have a shower, get changed for bed, take that 10 minutes, write a few things down. Because that's when I'm being left alone. It's the only time when one of them's not mithering me.
Yeah.
I take me 10 minutes and write down, because one of the kids is always, even though they're not kids anymore, my son's 25, but he'll still be yabbering in my ear about something that's happened. My youngest is 16. But somebody's always wants you. There's always that. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Somebody somewhere always goes, Mum, and you're like, what? What now? So just take that 10 minutes and write in my journal. It does help.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, so hopefully then behaviour change tools can ensure individuals stay focused and motivated. So let's have a look at person-centred approaches. So they focus on empowering individuals and fostering autonomy, encourage individuals to take ownership of their goals and actions, build confidence to celebrate small success, and align interventions with the individual's values and priorities. So how can you balance providing support while encouraging autonomy then, do you think? To maybe think about, I don't know, someone, I've noticed all my ideas are all my examples are all fitness focused. That's because of my fitness background, sorry. So a client is struggling with dietary changes, was empowered to co-create a meal plan that aligned with their cultural preferences and values. So how do you think you could sort of like put in support then to encourage the individual to do a person-centered approach? I suppose we just talked about like our own well-being.
Yeah, I suppose if you're gonna try and put any kind of action plan in that if they were trying to change, if it was a healthy lifestyle and you're trying to create it, instead of you're empowering them by getting them to make their own action plan rather than you going, right, well, this works, so do this. Because they're more likely to stick to it. Theoretically, they're more likely to stick to it a bit more if they've written their own action plan.
Yeah.
Yes, with your help and support, but they're writing their own goals. Because I can sit there and say, well, you can do this, but that doesn't mean that they can. So they need to set their own, and then that empowers them to, well, I can do this. This is what I can do.
Yeah, and what you said about self-reflection builds it, so that builds confidence as well, doesn't it? Any other things you can think of for a person-centered approach?
I think it's also important to recognise that things change, and it's important to review them as well. Again, there's a number of individuals that I've worked with that, again, have been at a certain point when you've seen them, but as times have moved on and other things have happening or are starting to happen in their lives, it's about kind of reviewing, kind of, and sometimes resetting the starting point as well. Again, I do kind of a few sessions with particularly men around who get quite demoralized sometimes when they don't kind of hit those goals and those plans. So it's around kind of creating an environment where it's okay to not achieve, but understand the reasons why, and next time make sure you put in things in place to not prevent them, but to reduce the risk of kind of them kind of derailing where you want to get to again.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, person-centered approaches ensure interventions are meaningful and sustainable, don't they? Okay, so we've got another discussion one. So if you've got your activity 15 one, so you're working with someone who feels discouraged after missing their initial targets. Your task is to use motivational techniques to rebuild their confidence and help them refocus on achievable steps. Highlight their strengths and progress through positive reinforcement. Use reflective listening to explore their concerns and understand their barriers, and then adjust goals to make them more realistic and achievable while maintaining motivation. So what motivational techniques could you use? How did you adjust their goals? And what steps would you take to ensure they remain engaged? So have a little discussion about that one then between yourselves.
I think one of the most important things that I find is the self-esteem side of things. I just mentioned it in the previous answer, is kind of building those people up to a level where they can function and thrive as well. And I think part of what kind of I've found with particularly those people that are really struggling is making them get to a point where they look at where they started and where they are now, because they don't realize how far they've actually come. Because when you live in your life, you don't see the changes in yourself. Very often it might be somebody else that sees those changes. So for me, I do a lot of taking the people back to the first time they walked through the door. How did you feel when you walked through the door, or where were you at on that first session? And then kind of making them realize that they are moving forward. All right, it might not be at the pace or the speed that they want, or that others around them potentially want as well, but you've achieved a lot within sometimes a really short period of time. Just because you've not hit the goal that you set for yourself doesn't mean you haven't moved forward in your life and made some positive changes along the way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, lots of praise for what people have achieved. And I think when you set a goal at the beginning, I think it's probably good to look at it halfway through anyway, because things change massively. You might actually think that actually isn't where I want to be. I just thought it was, and it's really
Yeah.
good to do that. We always try and stop like, it's all about self-empowerment and praising how much they've done for themselves, because as we always say, we might not be here forever. So, we've got to give people tools to make changes in their own lives. But
Yeah.
we also do we do little questionnaires, wellbeing questionnaires, partway through people's journeys, at the beginning, in the middle, and hopefully near the end. And we try and say, have people actually look at how they are feeling. And they might not see the change. We can say, well, actually, you scored yourself a 1 on this last time. You've just scored yourself a 3. So your mindset is different. So it's quite, little tools like that are good.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Anything from you, Angela?
I think one of the things I've found quite a few times with people that I've spoken to in work, and we've had things that they're doing, and we have our catch-ups every month or however often that they need them, they feel they need them, is when they'll sit there and say, like, well, we wanted to do this, or I wanted to do that, and it's like, but I didn't manage to do that. And I said, but it's reminding them that it's a journey, and it's not about walking out of the room and everything is better. You've walked out. It's not like arriving in Oz. We didn't suddenly just arrive somewhere and go, hey, everything's fixed and everything looks beautiful and it's gorgeous. It's about the journey. And it's like James had said, it's about where they come from, where they started from, and then where they've got to. And think of it as a journey. And yeah, all right, you might have fallen off a little bit and you might have took a bit of a twist in the road, and that's just a pothole. Think of it like it was just a pothole, but you've gone over that pothole now and it's fine. The rest of the road, as far as you can see it at the minute, it's fine. Yes, there might be another pothole around the corner, but it doesn't matter, because you'll work through that one the way you've worked through this one, because now you've got the tools and you've got the knowledge and coping mechanisms that that we've managed to put in place together, and you're nowhere near where you were when you started.
Yeah.
And as long as I've always kind of done that analogy of it's a journey, and it's, think of the road and the twists and the turns in it, and it kind of, you can see it when they're thinking, and you're like, oh yeah, all right, yeah, that kind of, and they're like, right, okay. And they seem to always feel better after that. Yes, obviously
Yeah.
not all the time, but
Yeah.
it's putting it in a way that they can relate to it a little bit more, and it's a little bit, instead of going, yes, but it's this, you're focusing on the fact that, yeah, you've had a bit of a twist in the road. Yes, you've hit a pothole, but it doesn't matter, because you worked past it, you worked through it, and you've not hit that and gone backwards. You've
Yeah.
just not gone as far forward as you thought you were going to.
but still
So
made
instead of
but
worrying
still
about
made a
where,
bit of
you know, about
progress.
the fact that you might have become a little bit slowed down in where you want it to be, it doesn't mean you've come to the end.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good
So
example.
that's the kind of, yeah, that's how I help them anyway.
Yeah, good example. But let's have a little look at some examples in practice then. So this example image illustrates how behaviour change techniques empower individuals to overcome challenges. So a client struggling with fitness goals worked with a personal trainer to set smaller achievable targets, starting with a 10-minute daily walk. Motivational interviewing helped the client identify their initial motivations to improve health. And then they celebrating the early success, built confidence and sustained the progress. So they carried on and ended up completing a 10K in the end, because little goals start off and then end up on big goals then if you carry on, don't they? So how could you adapt this example to support individuals in maybe in your role? Not necessarily in your role. It could be anybody. It could be clients. It could be colleagues. It could be family, friend members. What sort of things might you put in place for someone if they had a little goal? It might not be fitness. It could be anything, any sort of goal.
I'm writing it down helps, and putting it somewhere prominent. So there's that constant reminder of actually what you're trying to achieve, whether it be on the fridge or kind of a reminder on your phone or something along those lines. Actually, kind of getting them to write down that goal as well, not you writing it down and giving it to them. Actually, them moving it from their thoughts into actually starting actions, and kind of by writing it down, it's like it becomes real then.
Yeah, definitely. And the importance of breaking it down, isn't it? So you can celebrate the progress and the success that have come from those small goals. Because that's what we did with our weight loss. We were like, right, this month I want to be able to lose, this is my next target. We sort of had numbers in our heads that we wanted to get to. And then it was like, oh wow, we got to the first one. Oh wow, we got to the second one. And then I think then that motivates you then to carry on, doesn't it? Any other smart goaling or motivation that you've used?
I think sometimes sharing your plan with other support that whoever it is that you're helping is got. So whether they've got a partner or a sibling or whoever, if they share the plan with somebody else,
Yeah,
it kind of comes back to that. You've got that bit of accountability, if you like, instead of going, oh yeah, but I don't really need to do, there's only me knows about it. Who's gonna know if I don't do my 10-minute walk today?
yeah,
If you share that plan and somebody turns around and goes, oh, how was your walk today? And you go, well, I didn't go.
yeah,
It's a little bit easier to go for that 10-minute walk than it is to go, I didn't go today because I couldn't be bothered.
yeah. Or even having a buddy, isn't it?
So,
Because then you
and
don't
the
want to
fact that
let
you
your buddy
share
down.
it, and that's it. Yeah, if you shared the plan, then it might be that somebody will go, well, tell me what time you're going and I'll come with you.
Yeah, yeah.
So sometimes sharing the goal with other people in their support network is normally good.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So we'll have a little look at the key steps then. So we're going to outline actionable steps for using behavioural change techniques effectively. So using motivational interviewing to explore barriers and build commitment, develop SMART goals to create clear and measurable action plans, encourage reflection to build confidence and autonomy, and then celebrate progress to reinforce positive behaviour. And I think the celebrate one myself is probably the most important one. Do you? What do you think? Because breaking them down into smaller goals, because sometimes it can feel overwhelming, can it, if you've got a big goal? So by breaking it down to a smaller goal, makes it seem more manageable, maybe more motivational.
I also think we're very quick to criticize ourselves as well. So any opportunity to celebrate kind of sometimes even just one step forward, we should take, because
Yeah.
I think kind of particularly for the people that I see on some of the projects, they're really vulnerable as well, and very often they have a lot of negative self-talk. So actually, in some ways, sometimes they're not used to receiving any type of praise. So
Yeah.
again, kind of helping them and encouraging them to I guess encourage themselves, because you're not always going to be there. You talked before about that dependency. Well, actually, if we can't praise ourselves, how can we expect anyone else to do that as well?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's difficult sometimes, especially when you've been in. I'm dealing with some situations around domestic violence at the moment, so won't kind of speak about specifics. But again, those people are very low and very kind of what's the word? Lacking kind of positive reinforcement. So again, helping them to get to a point where they've broken away from that relationship and they've kind of found the strength to move on, actually is a real kind of something to reinforce, because that takes courage, that takes guts, that takes kind of real strength, and sometimes reminding people that that is something that kind of is not easy to do, can be a massive thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So
I think it's always good to start off with a congratulations to them or a well done, because the fact that they've even reached out for any form of support is normally the biggest step for some people. So you can start off really positively.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you can just ensure that by applying the behavioural techniques effectively work for that individual, don't they? Lovely. So a bit of summary then. So we've looked at behavioural tools like SMART goals, providing structure and focus, person-centered approaches, which fosters empowerment and autonomy. So they pick their own goals, and they write it down, and then they can reflect then on what they've decided and what their little goals are. And then motivational interviewing, so that will help then uncover and address any barriers that they might face. So how can you use techniques to support sustainable change, do you think, then, as a summary?
We need to make sure that they've got all the tools that they need to carry on independently, really, most importantly.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
that's the end goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Any questions for that activity? I can't remember which one it was now. 15, wasn't it? Yeah, activity 15. Any questions about that one? No? Lovely. So we just look at duty 5 now, though. So this is applying behavioural science, and we're going to develop skills to build trust and rapport with the individual, understanding and applying behaviour change models to design effective interventions, empower individuals to set and achieve goals that align with their personal needs and value, and then use evidence-based tools to create a measurable and sustainable behaviour change. So we'll ensure that you are prepared to support individuals in meaningful and impactful ways, and understanding these objectives will help you navigate the tasks and requirements for the duty 5 task. So the aims and objectives are to demonstrate your understanding of behavioural science, apply these concepts to design, implement and evaluate wellbeing interventions, and showcase your ability to foster autonomy and empower individuals. So we've got 3 steps in the task. So I think what I might do is bring up the actual task sheet. Let me just find it a sec. Duty 5. Picture, yeah, I've got it there. So if I just share that screen. So can you see the task there? Was it a bit small? Zoom in. There you go. Is that all right? Yeah. So as a wellbeing champion, in your company, your role is pivotal in promoting and enhancing the wellbeing of staff. And it's not just staff, though, it's clients as well, or can be outside the work too. So it's just within your community that you live in. This task is designed to engage you in a self-reflective exercise, allowing you to evaluate past projects and gather work-based evidence. Your insights will contribute to the continuous improvement of wellbeing initiatives within your organisation. So project selection, so you're going to look at one or two of your past wellbeing projects or initiatives that you've led or been significantly involved in within your company. So that could be duties you've already done or anything you've been involved in. Then you're going to document, so collect all relevant documents and records relating to the selected projects. This could include project plans, reports, feedback forms, and any other relevant material. And then you're going to reflect and analyse it. So conduct a thorough analysis of the selected projects, focusing on the key areas. So you're going to look at engagement and communication. How did you build rapport with staff and encourage the participation? Reflect on the communication strategies, respecting autonomy and priorities. So how did the project acknowledge and respect the individual? Behaviour changes, identify the behaviour change tools and techniques employed. Outcome of feedback, so analyse the outcome of the project and then whatever feedback you've got. And then learning and adaptation. So how have these experiences influenced your approach to future wellbeing initiatives? So basically, what could you do better? Or what went well? What went well that you can take forward? And then engagement and communication. So how did you build rapport with your staff, colleagues, family members, friends, whoever you're talking with, and encourage their participation? And then reflect on their communication strategies and their effectiveness. So creating a report that includes summary of each selected project, your reflective analysis, supporting documents or evidence, and then personal reflection. So you can use your learner journal for the personal reflection bit if you want to. I just go back to my slides and just see what's in there. A minute. Just go back there. Okay, so basically in summary, you're going to look at behavioural science, provides a framework for understanding influence and behaviour changes. Rapport building and active listening creates trust and uncovers barriers. Co-design interventions respect individual priorities and promote ownership. Motivational techniques sustain engagement, empower individuals to take action themselves. So it's just looking at how you're going to use these skills or techniques from what you've learned so far and take it into this duty 5. Have you got any questions about what you need on Bud? There are some examples that you can have a little look at as well. And then if you've got any questions about any of the duty, or you want to just send me like a copy of it. I mean, don't be afraid to put your duty on, Bud. I'll mark it and give you feedback. If there's a bit extra that needs to be added, that's fine. Or you could send it to me via email if you want, and I can have a little look at it first before you submit it, whatever's easiest for you. I have got one in that does it quite well. He sort of sets out the task steps and puts it all in one document. So then he'll put in any emails, any surveys he's done, any written notes that he's done, he'll take a picture of and put in there. And then it just gives you that bit of evidence to support it. So it shows that you've done some learning. You've taken pictures of maybe some notes that you've made and popped in there, photographs of anything that is relevant. So any questions about duty at the moment? No? No? Victoria, any questions? No? Quite happy? So next steps then Our next workshop is on the 31st of January, I believe. Just double check that. No, it's not. It is on the 23rd of January, which is duty 6. So then you just need to complete. So today, after this session today, if you complete the duty 5 online learning journal, just so you can submit your hours for it. So pop that on, and then you just need to prepare then for the next workshop. Oh, I've read that wrong. That's why. Complete duty 5 by the 31st of January. Our next workshop is on the 23rd of January. So you just need to make sure activities 16, 17 and 18 are completed by that duty. They are all set for you now. So I think all the activities and all the duties should all be set for you now. That was a massive task. So you should have everything that you need now going forward. I shouldn't have to set. You will have a couple of activities that will set themselves as Bud goes. So each month they'll set for the next month a couple of extra bits. But all your actual activities and duties should all be set for you. Any questions at all about anything? No, all good. Lovely. Let me just stop the recording then.